I'm going to share with you exactly how I keep six-pack abs all year round as a 38-year-old business owner who has a sedentary job. I'm going to show you my desk and stuff now, right? I'm lucky enough to work from home, but my clients are not. They travel a lot with work. They're business owners, high up in the corporate world, and that's where it gets challenging. I used to travel a lot, but let me get to that next, right? Here's my stand-up desk. That's the first secret, right? Stand-up desk. Sitting is the new smoking. You can see my abs, if you can see that. That is a byproduct. I don't think about that anymore. I don't think about having six-pack abs, although I do train them a little bit. It's a byproduct of this one very simple thing, and it's movement. This is how I do it and my clients, right? We walk regular. People think they have to allocate like 30-minute walks, 1-hour walks into their daytime. Sometimes they do to hit a certain amount of steps, but moving, business meetings, walk and talk. I tell my clients whenever they get an opportunity to walk whilst they're doing a business meeting, do it. You can pace around when you're doing stuff like checking emails, right? Or even when you're on social media, pace around. That's what I do. So I walk after my 2 big meals a day. I know not everyone who's busy has an opportunity to do that. That's how I get a lot of my steps in, though. And I'll just move regular, like I say. So regular movement's key. Sit-ins are new smoking, right? So if you sat down for longer than 2 hours at a time, it's actually worse than smoking for your health. So that's the key thing, is regular movement. And think about it. When my clients travel, when people travel, you sit on a plane, you get off the plane, you get in the Uber, you sit down, you get to the hotel room, you sit down and you work, right? Now, how about you stacking on more steps to that instead? So pacing around. So my clients, I've got them programmed, if they're on the plane, they're gonna at least walk around a little bit. They're gonna take the stairs instead of taking the lift. Sometimes they'll even park further away from work, allocate that time into their day and do that as well. So it's stacking more movement onto your day rather than trying to do unrealistic step goals, right? It sounds silly, but that's how I stay lean mainly, right? So I'm probably averaging about 12, 13K steps a day. And as I say, I walk a lot, I walk after meals, and I pace around very, very often. So look, it sounds stupid, but that's number one. Number two is the strength training. Obviously, that keeps your metabolism firing, right? So if you are traveling, what I get my clients to do is I'll get them to take their bands with them and commit to doing like a 10, 15-minute band session in their hotel room, right? And if not, if they've got a hotel gym, great. They can do a quick 20 to 30-minute workout. If they can't fit that in though, I'm getting them to focus on the movement and nutrition and dial them in even more. So that means more movement, more steps, and that's non-negotiable. Also with food. So this is what I do and how I keep these abs ripped all year round. So obviously fasting is something that I do every day. I don't really think of it as fasting. I just break my fast at lunchtime and I have a big meal in the evening. So if I'm away and I'm traveling like I used to travel a lot, if I do that now, I am not eating crap food. If there's only limited options and it's garbage or it's not good quality food sources that I like to eat, or at least meat where I can eat meat, eat the protein, blunt my appetite, I won't bother eating it. I'll just drink sparkling water and water until I get some good food. Now, sometimes I will have some dark chocolate and protein bars and stuff like that when I'm traveling, but I know that I'm still gonna factor in a good meal later on. I'll always get cooking facilities as well. If I travel, and I try and get my clients to do that if they can as well. A lot of the times they can't, they don't get the option. But for me, I'll book somewhere when I go away where I can just cook my own food. So I'll literally go to the supermarket, buy some steaks, chuck them on the pan, so it's got a little kitchenette in the hotel, and do that. So I know I can control it more. The other option is I'll get some clients, there's like Amazon food delivery, for example, right? So some of them, they go away for like 3 days to a week traveling with work. What they'll do is an Amazon food delivery. They can actually order the food to the hotel. So some of them will do that because you can order boiled eggs, you can order salads, you can order like ready cooked meat. Obviously, I know it's not gonna be ideal, but it's still gonna help you with protein and make better decisions. So that's a very simple thing. But personally, as I say, fasting works a treat because I'm going without food when it's bad food options available. And if I do choose to eat those foods, then if I was to eat processed foods or just eat whatever was available, which I wouldn't, because I'd rather just, even if it means if I'm traveling, God forbid, I just have one meal that day. I prefer to do that than eat a lot of the garbage. Because when you're eating garbage, any food that's available to you, let's say you've got a work meeting and it's the usual processed crap, then you're gonna wanna eat more and you're gonna eat a lot more food, right? So it's very, very simple. Look, and I've put these strategies into a fat loss fundamentals guide where I've broken down the exact meals, nutrition, and strategies that you can use to actually implement this when you're traveling or just in your day-to-day life. So all you gotta do is click the link in the show notes and the fat loss link is there, right? The fat loss fundamentals guide link. Or you can just comment fat loss, whatever you prefer, and you can get it that way. So look, the other thing that I wanted to touch on as well is like meal rotation and stuff. So a very simple thing that I do, right, is I stick to the same meals. Now, it doesn't mean you should get bored and eat the same meals all the time, boring and bland food. But having the same meals actually makes things much simpler. And a lot of my clients are men. I've got a handful of female clients. But what I'll get these people to do is I'll get them to stick to, like, say, a few meals that they enjoy eating. It could be anywhere between like 4 to 6 meals, for example, that they actually enjoy eating, that is simple to make. It could literally just be meat, potatoes, a bit of salad or vegetables, right? Or meat, white rice, salad and vegetables, something simple. It could even be protein powder, right? So it could be, right, take your protein powder with you. If you're struggling to hit that protein target, you can just make yourself a shake, right? Very, very simple. Not complicated at all. The odd protein bars, I know sometimes you can't always make a shake. So yeah, there's certain protein bars they'll take with them every now and then. But look, I always tell clients there's 2 types of meals. There's incomplete meals and there's complete meals. Incomplete meals are going to be snacks and stuff, right? Which are just incomplete. They haven't got the nutrients that you need, and normally the right types of protein and everything else, or just enough protein to blunt your appetite. Then you've got your complete meals, which you cook yourself, or you get a meal prep company to help you, or you get Amazon food delivery, right? Where it's more of a complete meal. You're having your meat or your eggs, you're having your fiber by having your salad or vegetables, and then you may get some healthy fats on top of that as well, right? So very, very, very simple. You got to have that meal rotation simple. You can have the same meals, but also at the same time, you don't want to be getting bored of that, which is why if you do feel like the need to have snacks and stuff, it's having better options as snacks. So it's having like boiled eggs. Again, you can get them with the Amazon food delivery, or you can get like meal prep companies to help you. You can also having lean protein available to you, right? Even if it's beef jerky, if you're on the move, for example, beef jerky, those kind of things, right? Another thing is like you can have turkey roll-ups. I get a lot of clients to, even though it's not ideal, right? If you're getting sliced ready-made meats, it's the best of 2 evils, right? If you're going to make poor decisions and overeat, that's the worst case scenario. So if we can get protein in, it's going to blunt your appetite more. So I'll get clients to get like ready-made turkey breast, for example, turkey roll-ups. Add some, because you can buy this in the shop. It's quite easy to make. Get some cucumber. Maybe even get a little bit of, like, say, a little bit of cream cheese, as long as you don't go too crazy with that. Roll them up, boom, eat them. Taste great. Don't go overboard with the cheese. Obviously, it's high in calories. In an ideal world, just literally turkey, salt, cucumber in there, maybe some tomato, boom, done. Salt and pepper, that's good enough. That's lower calories, high protein. So simple stuff like that, but the main thing is you want to be having those complete meals. And like I say, I wouldn't necessarily recommend everyone fast, but for me personally, I always fast in the mornings and I move loads in the morning. And by the way, when I get a chance, I'll train in the morning. When I travel or clients travel, they'll get a quick session in the morning. Normally, if they don't, they'll just do more steps to make up for it. Quick 20-minute session, or 10, 15 minutes if I'm just using the bands in the hotel room. Then I'll do my movement and stuff, and I won't eat there until lunchtime. So then I'm in my fat burning zone as well. So when you train, you're generally going to deplete your glycogen levels. And after that, then when you're walking, you're just basically burning. You're just utilizing fat as an energy source and burning more fat. Nothing's going to obviously compete with having high protein and heat and being in a calorie deficit to lose fat. But those kind of things do make a difference all in all. So look, that's very simple. And what I'm going to give you, like I say, that fat loss fundamentals guide, which is broken down the whole blueprint of this, is in the show notes. Just click the link to get that. And also another thing I want to mention as well is when it comes to actually keeping ripped abs, like I just showed you, okay? We can see here. Look, I'm not trying to be big-headed, but I kind of am, right? The bottom line is I don't think about having those abs anymore. Like I say, I'm lean as a result of movements and eating right, which I'll get to, which I'll do another episode on actually, right? Show you in my kitchen how I eat and stuff. But just eating high protein, eating real foods most of the time. Fasting when there's no good foods available, right? I'm not saying everyone should do that. And because I'm eating in a smaller window, now I know I did an episode on this talking about fasting, how it can make you essentially worse off, which it can for a lot of people. But a lot of people eating in a smaller window, if you've got a foundation where you're having, most of your protein is coming from real food like meats and eggs, for example, and you're eating whole foods for the most time, eating in a smaller window for me, like I'll eat within like a 6 to 8 hour window. I'll have my first meal about midday, last meal about 5, right? And it's harder to overeat them, right? Because you got less time to eat the food. Now, sometimes like this morning, I had some dark chocolate to break my fast, which I'll do, right? But that doesn't, that's more of a stimulant as well. I look at, because it's got caffeine in it, right? So I look at dark chocolate, yeah, it tastes good. But if I have like 40, 50 grams, yeah, it's more calories, like 300 calories, but it's 85, 90%, even 100% this new one I've got. And it just basically is a stimulant. I look at it like caffeine. So it doesn't make me more hungry because there's not much sugar in it. And I'll that, and then my 2 meals, and it's almost impossible to overeat when you're having low sugar. So this is another thing I do with meal rotation, just to wrap this up. Like I said last time, lately, I'm having low sugar in the week, so I'm just having white rice as a carb source in the evening. And the rest of the food I eat in those 2 meals is meat, eggs, beef liver, for example, chicken liver sometimes. I'll cook my meals in beef tallow or ghee oil. I'll have avocado, have sardines as well, probably 3-4 times a week with that first meal. And in the evening, so I have low carbs for the first meal, where it's meat, eggs, and avocado or sardines or whatever. Then in the evening, I'm having the white rice with the meal, basically. Very simple. And I've actually started this week adding in more greens. And I've noticed my gut, because I cut greens out for a long time, but I want to bring them back in because they do help with inflammation. For me, I do notice sometimes I get less bloating and it helps flush me out. Obviously, vitamin C can act as a diuretic, so I've been eating more broccoli. I have noticed my farts are a bit more, I'm getting a bit more trapped in, right? But yesterday was a bit better. So I'm bringing in greens as of this week as well to add to one of my meals, either my first meal or my evening meal. And look, another simple trick I get clients to do as well, especially when they're traveling, eating greens or salad or vegetables prior to having your meal, even at a restaurant. If you're eating out, I get it. If you're eating out, it's tough. But having vegetables, for example, or salad before you eat the main meal is going to keep you way more satiated. Fiber is going to help blunt your appetite more, right? Not as much as protein necessarily, but do that. I did that yesterday before I ate. Had a big bowl of broccoli. The salt tastes great. I love the taste, by the way. And then I had my meal and I felt way more satiated, right? Because it's slow to digest, high thermic effect as well, but it's going to blunt your appetite. And then when you're having a good amount of protein, and last little tip I want to give you with that as well is pre-planning, looking at the menu in advance before you eat out when you're traveling, right? Look at the menu in advance and have a look at the menu before you get there. The worst thing you can do is when you get there and you're really hungry, you've been busy all day, and you don't know what to expect, and then you make poor decisions. If you have in mind, oh, it's got steak on the menu, and I can have some vegetables as well, and maybe some mashed potato or potatoes even, carbs, right? Then you know then, and if you can have the salad or vegetables before that meal, you're just going to make better decisions. It's not about being perfect. You might eat some crap, some bread, whatever. But if you're having the vegetables or salad, you're having the meat, you're having a complete meal, going back to my point, then you're just going to eat less. Look, I want to wrap this up with, check out this next video, right? And don't forget to get the fat loss guide in the show notes. And I'm also offering a few more metabolic assessments, free metabolic assessments this month. So if you want a free metabolic assessment where it gives you a meal plan, it gives you a score, which basically tells you exactly what you need to do, training, nutrition, lifestyle wise, a specific game plan for your metabolic type and for the results that you want, I'm more than happy to run a free assessment for a handful more people. So I've also put that link in the show notes. All right. Give it a like, give it a comment beneath if you like this video. Until next time, speak soon.